Welcome to Word of Knowledge Christian Center, where we're helping to build a kingdom, not just a church, where Apostle A.C. Morgan is our pastor. Join us on WebEx on Sundays for our morning service at 10 a.m. and discipleship training, Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. To join us on WebEx, email wordofknowledgechristiancenter@gmail.com or call to be added, 757-737-7280. Listen to A Word of Knowledge broadcast on the radio or download the Wilkins Radio app. WBTJ Pensacola, Florida AM 610 and FM 105.3 Friday, 8 o'clock to 8:15 a.m. Central Time. WASG Mobile, Alabama AM 540 and FM 106.1 Wednesday, 7:45 to 8 a.m. Central Time. WNWR Philadelphia, Pennsylvania FM 95.3 and AM 1540 Saturday, 7:15 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. WUMY Memphis, Tennessee, AM 830 and FM 105.5. WEZZ Canton, North Carolina, AM 970 and FM 102.9, Sunday, 6:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. WSky Asheville, North Carolina, AM 1230, Sunday, 6:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just download the Wilkins Radio app or online at www.wilkinsradio.com/our programs, A Word of Knowledge broadcast.
You are listening to a Word of Knowledge broadcast, and I am your hostess, Apostle A.C. Morgan. As I promised last week, we will pick up from last week's message on the type of offerings that we're presenting to God on a daily basis. He's not pleased with the offerings. He is building up an army that is going to give him their best. Remember last week I said I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about offerings that we are responsible for giving God daily. Offerings such as unselfish acts of love towards others or praying on behalf of others, fasting, praising and honoring God and His Son. Prayers of thanksgiving and thankfulness to God for the things that He do for us every day. These are the type of offerings I'm referring to that God is not pleased with how we're presenting them to Him. Now we're going to pick up from where we left off last week. And while you're sitting back, thinking your little mess that you're handing Him is going to keep you blessed, going to keep you in His favor, going to keep you under His protection. I'm telling you now, it is not, because those ones that He's building up now, they are going to be pushing you out of the way. He is demanding better from us. This going to church, you getting there when you get there, you're going to miss His presence. Half doing your job in the church, I don't care if it's sweeping the floor. Half doing your job in the church, He going to take it from you and give it to someone that will sweep with excellence. Half coming to your choir rehearsal, choir meetings, usher meetings, He going to put people in place that's going to give Him excellence. I'm telling you, He's doing a transfer because He's at a place now. The only thing He's accepting is the pure in heart. The pure in heart is going to always strive to give Him their best. And while we are playing around, thinking we have time, in the end, it's going to hurt us. It's not going to hurt Him. It's going to hurt us. When He was talking to me about this, He kept telling me about reminding me about the 10 virgins. And one of the things He brought to my mind, He said, you know what? The 5 that weren't ready, they didn't realize they weren't ready when Christ came. They had time to get ready, but they kept dragging their feet. Then when Christ came, unexpectedly, Here, Christ is represented as the bridegroom. They wanted to try to get ready. But see, getting ready, you can't be getting ready when Christ comes. You got to be ready. You got to be ready. And so since you don't know if he's going to part the sky, or if in your life you're going to experience the physical death that's going to take you away from here, you should be preparing for the journey. And it's going to take more than what we're willing to give or what we're actually giving him right now. Let's go over to the story of the 10 virgins. Now, I don't want you to lose track of what we're talking about. We're still talking about presenting God offerings that are subpar, that are not adequate, that are not meeting his standards. 5 of the virgins were giving him excellence in their preparation for his coming as the bridegroom. But 5 gave him that mentality that this is good enough in preparation for his return. Let's go over to Matthew chapter 25. We'll do verses 1 through 13, the Amplified. Verse 1 says, "Then the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins." In other words, this parable is explaining how the operation of his return is going to come about. Who took their lamps and went to meet the bridegroom. Again, I want to remind you, this is parallel to the return of Christ. Here he's represented as the bridegroom. 2 says, 5 of them were foolish, thoughtless, silly, careless, and 5 were wise, farsighted, practical, and sensible. Now notice how it describes the foolish. It describes the foolish as thoughtless, silly, careless. Verse 4 reads, "For when the foolish took their lamps, they did not take any extra oil with them, but the wise took flax of oil along with their lamps." In other words, the wise took extra oil for their lamps, but the foolish did not take extra oil. 5 says, "Now while the bridegroom was delayed, they all began to nod off, and they fell asleep. But at midnight there was a shout, 'Look, the bridegroom is coming. Go out to meet him.' Then all those virgins got up, put their own lamps in order, trimmed the wicks, and added oil and lit them. But the foolish virgins said to the wise, 'Give us some of your oil, because our lamps are going out.'" Now at this point, here they are scrambling, trying to get ready, to be prepared, when the wise made sure they were prepared for the return of the bridegroom. Had the foolish prepared in excellence for the return of Christ, or let's say prepared in excellence for the return of the bridegroom. Listen, the preparation for the return was part of the offering that they were giving to God daily. The preparation of the return was an offering, but they did not do it in excellence. They did it with a mindset that this is good enough. And what's happening is we're giving God daily offerings with the mindset that this is good enough. But as we see, good enough does not meet the mark. Verse 8 says, "But the foolish virgins said to the wise, 'Give us some of your oil, because our lamps are going out.' 9 says, "But the wise replied, 'No, otherwise there will not be enough for us and for you too.' Go instead to the dealers and buy oil for yourselves. But while they were gone away to buy oil, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding feast, and the door was shut and locked. Later, the others also came and said, Lord, Lord, open the door for us. But he replied, I assure you and most solemnly say to you, I do not know you. We have no relationship. Therefore, be on the alert, be prepared and ready, for you do not know the day nor the hour when the Son of Man will come. You know, it's so funny because people say, they've been saying that for thousands of years, hundreds of years, or ever since I've been born. That's what they've been saying. He coming back. He coming back. But it doesn't matter whether he comes back in the sky or he comes back with your physical death occurring. There will be a return, and you must be ready for the return. As long as you're giving God offerings daily that are subpar, that's not according to his standards, you will not be prepared. I often say to my congregation, and I'm saying it to you too, your natural life runs parallel to your spiritual life. If your natural life is not in order, your spiritual life is not in order. Don't fool yourself. Don't think that your natural life can be tore up from the floor up and that your spiritual life is going to be perfect, because that is not true. Let me explain or share with you an example of what I mean when I say if your natural life is messed up, so is your spiritual life. For instance, if there's any sin in your natural life, your spiritual life is automatically out of order. Amongst the 7 deadly sins, we are taught that laziness is a deadly sin. If laziness is a part of your life, then guess what? You're automatically out of order, because in the spirit realm, there is no place for laziness. Let's talk about envy. Envy, let me give you an example. That would be sorrowful in the spirit, or depressed in the spirit, or dysfunctional in the spirit, because someone has obtained something that you don't have, something that you can't obtain, something you wish you had. In your spirit, you're out of sorts. You're even jealous because they have that thing. If that's prevalent in your natural life, you're automatically out of order in your spiritual life, because there is no place for envy. Let's talk about this. Lust. If lust, and it refers to, striving for, chasing after things of luxury, things of wealth, things of power, even sexual things, adultery, fornication. If those things are present in your natural life, then your spiritual life is out of order. Your spiritual life is out of order. Even, look, gluttony. That's the buying in excess, the eating, the drinking, doing things overboard. You go far beyond what is necessary or what's considered to be the norm. We've been taught that that's one of the 7 deadly sins. So if that's going on in your life, your spiritual life is out of order. This is what I'm talking about when I say it runs parallel, because if your spiritual life is in order, then that means there's order in your natural life. And it's not order based on the flesh or order based on this world. It's order based on the principles of God, the standards that God have set for us. And you may say, well, I don't have those as problems. I don't eat too much, and I don't this, and I don't that. But what about the sins that you commit through ignorance? Through the fact that you are not aware of that thing being a sin in the eyes of God. What about those sins? We must begin to pay attention to the quality of offerings that we're offering up to God through his son, because just giving him anything is not going to cut it. I don't want you to believe me. I want you to believe God. What he is saying, he means. You have been listening to a Word of Knowledge broadcast, and I am your hostess, Apostle A.C. Morgan.
Dr. A.C. Morgan, Th.D., Apostle, and author has a variety of books, workbooks, and study manuals available for purchase on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and B&N.com. I will, O Lord, magnify, exhort, and praise you at all times, the stages of your spiritual walk, preparing for your spiritual walk in Christ Jesus. The Book of James, a study guide for the individual, small, and large study group. Discipleship Training Course. Course 101. I hear what you're saying, but I don't understand. Discipleship Training Course. The Gospel of St. John. Spiritual First Aid Kit, a personal kit for the survivor. Proverbs, a book of wisdom, insight from the wisest man of his time. Book 1, and coming soon, Proverbs, a book of wisdom, insight from the wisest man of his time. Book 2, you can purchase at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, B&N.com.